Today, we're going to explore something interesting. A quiet but really powerful response to disrespect. It's all about what happens when you feel pressured in a conversation, and how sometimes the most effective reaction is no reaction at all.
You know that feeling, right? That quiet, internal sensation of being on the receiving end of a monologue. Just waiting. Waiting for a space to think, let alone speak. It's a moment so many of us recognize, but we rarely talk about it.
So this kind of disrespect, this intense pressure, where does it come from? Well, often it's created by what you might call a conversational bully. And this isn't about physical stuff. It's about a style of speaking that just takes over, controlling the space and leaving absolutely no room for anyone else.
There are some really common patterns to this. You'll see frequent interruptions, cutting you off right before you finish a thought. There might be this rapid-fire questioning, which isn't really about understanding you, it's more about cornering you. And then, of course, there's the dismissive tone or just being spoken over, like your words don't even matter.
And when we're faced with this, what's our first instinct? It's to push back, right? We jump in to defend ourselves. We try to clarify our motives. We try to match their pace, their volume, because we feel like we have to fight just to have a space in the conversation. And honestly, it feels logical. It feels necessary. But here's the thing. That reaction, it often just creates this feedback loop. It becomes this totally exhausting cycle where things just escalate. Both people start speaking faster and louder and with more intensity. And the goal isn't about understanding anymore, it's just about being heard. And in the end, nobody really is.
You can actually see this dynamic play out very clearly in public spaces. So for this, we're going to look at a specific interaction. Not because of the content, but because of the form. It's a perfect case study in conversational pressure.
So, the example we're looking at is from a pretty well-known MSNBC interview with the comedian and commentator Russell Brand. Now, what they're talking about isn't really our focus here. Instead, we're just going to observe the communication style itself, because it's such a clear, high-stakes example of these dynamics in action.
Right from the very beginning, you can feel it. The hosts use this really aggressive, rapid-fire style. Questions are just stacked on top of each other, interruptions are constant. The guest is immediately put on the back foot, in a defensive position, expected to react to this relentless stream of pressure.
But then, something really interesting happens. The guest pivots, but not by adding more words or more energy. No, he does it by taking something away. It's this technique of subtraction, and it completely changes the dynamic.
It's a psychological approach you might call the less signals technique. And the core idea is actually pretty simple. You just consciously hold back the social cues the other person is expecting. You simply don't give them the reaction that they're trying to provoke.
This whole technique really has three observable parts. First, there's the calm stare. Just steady, neutral eye contact, nothing aggressive. Second is the absence of a smile. You see, a nervous smile can signal discomfort or a need to appease them. Taking that away changes the entire message. And third, and this is probably the most important part, is the use of silence. Just allowing a pause to hang in the air after a question instead of rushing to fill it.
So what happens when you actually apply this technique? Well, the result is this subtle but really powerful shift in the balance of the whole interaction. By not giving them that expected reaction, you create a kind of social vacuum. The person who's applying all that pressure is suddenly left performing to an audience of one who's just not reacting. Their energy has nowhere to go. It just hangs there in the air, and that can become really, really uncomfortable for the person who started it.
And you can see the contrast so clearly here. The initial goal was probably to create pressure, to fluster the guest, but the actual outcome? You see visible discomfort and awkwardness from the interviewers. They wanted to control the narrative, but instead, they were forced to change their entire approach. They were looking for a defensive reaction, and all they got was calm and silence.
And here's the crucial point. The person who is applying all the pressure is now the one who has to work. They're forced to soften their tone, to try to re-engage, to basically try and win back a response from the person they were just attacking. The power dynamic has completely, quietly flipped.
All of this brings us to one final thought. And it's not really about tactics. It's about something we could call poise.
It's so important to see that this technique isn't some tool for winning an argument, because if you frame it that way, you're still stuck in that same old exhausting cycle of conflict.
No, instead, it's about something else entirely. It's about observing. Observing the space that opens up both around you and inside you when you make a conscious choice not to fill it with that immediate instinctual reaction.
And that just leaves us with an open question to think about. In any given conversation, where does the real power actually lie? Is it with the person who speaks the loudest and the fastest? Or is it maybe with the one who has the capacity to simply hold the silence?